Hi guys, I'm back with a video. Today I'm going to be making caldo de albondigas. I have a pot of about 2.5 liters of water already boiled, and sorry I had messed up my last video, but the vegetables are an onion and a half chopped, and then I have 3 pretty big celery stalks, and I cut each stalk in like half so I can chop it and it can be a little bit smaller. About 1.5 pounds of baby red potatoes, 4 Roma tomatoes, cabbage and cilantro. Oh, and then I'm just using these little frozen carrots because I didn't have any carrots, so I'm gonna use what I have. So my little saute pan's already hot. I'm gonna add a little bit of oil with my giant jug of oil, and so as I chop stuff, I'm just gonna add them to start sauteing. Certain things I saute, like the tomatoes, onions. I like to saute before I put them in the pot. So while those cook, I keep chopping my next stuff. And because most of this stuff is gonna cook for quite a while and it's gonna kind of dissolve, I don't really care to make my chopping real fine. So pretty chunky is the way to go for this. It goes pretty quick. Okay. So I go ahead and start doing this, and my water is already boiling, and then I'm going to add it as soon as it's kind of sauteed down a little bit. I'm going to add it to my boiling water. The water, as of right now, I haven't added anything yet. So this is the stuff that's going to start flavoring your soup. And I'm not going to cook them all the way down. I'm just going to let them kind of sweat it out a little bit. The celery, I try to do just a little bit smaller because it doesn't dissolve. So when you go to chew it or, bite into it, I don't want a real big chunk of celery. So I'm going to let that continue to saute for a little bit. And in the meantime, to my pot of boiling water, I'm going to add just a few shakes of onion powder, maybe like a teaspoon. And I'm going to add some beef bouillon. And I have in this little container, it's about a tablespoon. That's the last little bit I have. So I'm just going to go ahead and dump the whole thing in there. That's that. And the tomatoes are already starting to release these little juices and stuff. Oh, I'm going to go ahead and add my cilantro. So for this, I like to put quite a bit of cilantro. Here's my handful of it. So that's about as much as I put in. This bunch I would say, is kind of on the medium side. Sometimes the cilantro bunches are real big. So I'll probably put half a bunch, but this is kind of small. So I guess you can say that I'm putting the whole bunch. So I would say once it's chopped, it's like a good half a cup or maybe 2/3 of a cup of cilantro. So this is all the stuff that's going to start flavoring your soup while we start building our meatballs. Okay. So once this sautés a little bit, as you can see, it immediately cooked down the cilantro and stuff, and the tomatoes are already kind of like dissolving in there. That's pretty good. That's all I needed to do. And then I'm going to take it and dump it into my pot of water, boiling water. I'm gonna swap it. Bring over my pot. Okay. All right. So because my little pan is hot, I'm just gonna very carefully scoop this into my soup. Can you see that? I said I was gonna make this whenever it started getting colder, but it's not even cold, but it's about that time. It's what I felt like cooking today. So what's gonna happen is while I burned myself. While I start building my meatballs, this is gonna continue to boil, and it's just gonna flavor the broth. It's gonna if you give it this time to kind of get started, it's gonna make a big difference in your final product. So okay. So for the meat, I have ground meat from H-E-B, and it's 3 pounds. So I'm gonna use the whole thing. Okay, so to the meat, I usually try to use some kind of all-purpose seasoning of some kind to season my meat. So I add about a teaspoon of it, and I like to put pepper. A little bit of salt. I wish I had more pepper. I'm gonna start putting it together and see how it turns out. I might add a little more pepper. Okay, so to bind the meatballs, I use 2 eggs for this much meat. So my soup is already like boiling pretty good. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do, because I went ahead and, oh shit, look, I have a tomato left over. Oh well, that's okay. I'll chop it up and throw it in. Because my potatoes are not cut, I mean, they're pretty small, but I'm gonna go ahead and take them just like this and dump them in there so they can go ahead and start getting cooked. Since they're not, they're not peeled, so they're gonna hold their shape. So I'll go ahead and put those in there. Put most of them in there. Let me see how that looks. Okay. All right, so the meat, you're just basically gonna mix it all up until it all becomes kind of all mixed in together well, and then you form your meatballs, and then I don't add them until my potatoes are pretty well cooked. The potatoes is really what takes the longest of the vegetables to cook. All the other vegetables are pretty already cooked, the little ones. I'm gonna add my cabbage and carrots, which I could put my carrots in there now too. My carrots are frozen, so I'm pretty sure they're not going to take like long to cook. If they would be fresh carrots, I would probably put them in right now with my potatoes. Okay. All right, so that's basically it for my meat. I'm just going to take them and start forming them into a meatball. And I don't like to make real big meatballs. I would say that that's like a 2-bite meatball. That's about as big as I would make them. Okay, so I'm gonna let my soup keep cooking, and I'm gonna keep forming my meatballs, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I have my meatballs all formed here, and my soup is boiling away. I added the carrots and the potatoes are boiling. They still have a good ways to go to cook, so I'm gonna let well, actually, you know what, I forgot to put my tomato sauce. I forgot to mention earlier. I put a tomato sauce mostly just for coloring. I put the whole thing. And I like to add some serrano peppers like this. I like to add them. I just dump them in the soup like that. That way when I go to serve it, my soup isn't spicy. But if you want spicy soup, you could just grab one of the peppers and just poke them around in your soup, and it'll spice it right up. I actually put some rice to cook because I usually serve it with rice. You can put maybe like a third of a cup of rice in here and just dump it in and let it cook with the soup. But I like to keep mine separate just because if I have leftovers, I don't want the rice to get bloated and to soak up the juice of my soup. So I'm gonna let it boil for at least another 5 minutes into a rough boil, or whatever you call it, like an actual boil, and then I will add my meatballs. Okay, I'll be back. So my soup is still boiling, my rice is going. I have chopped up into kind of wedge-like strips some cabbage, and I'm gonna add like a tablespoon and a half of consomé de pollo, maybe two whole tablespoons. And then I'm gonna go ahead and taste it. I still haven't added my meatballs. I'm about to add them right now. It's already really good. Okay, I don't have the cabbage. I don't have the cabbage until maybe like 5 minutes before I turn the heat off, because I don't like it to be so overcooked. So that's the last thing I add. So once you dump your meatballs in there, I kind of like to do them a couple at a time so that they don't clump up once I drop them in there. And then so once I dump these in there, the soup I'm gonna let it boil for like a good 15 to 20 minutes, and while my rice finishes, and it you know how I always let my rice rest for a few minutes, and so once like 20 minutes from now, it'll all be ready and we'll eat. So all right, so meatballs are dropped in. All of my vegetables, with the exception of my cabbage, is in there. Kind of just very gently move it around to make sure that the meatballs kind of separate from each other. This is not exactly a light soup because the meatballs I think the meat was 80-20, so it does have some grease to it. So you'll see the grease rise up. So once I see it all rise up and it's fully cooked, I'll go ahead and skim it off once I turn off the heat. So that's what I'll do. So I'm gonna let it go for about 20 minutes and I'll be back. Well, actually I'm gonna let it go for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then I'm gonna put my cabbage and then I'll let it finish off. All right, I'll be back. Don't touch it. Oh. It's ready. Okay, so here we go, you guys. So I usually serve it up like this. A couple of little potatoes. If you don't have these little potatoes, you can always, just chop up any kind of potato, whether you decide to peel potatoes or not. Cabbage. Like 3 or 4 meatballs per plate. And then of course we want some of the delicious soup. have to have my chilito in there. And then some people like to put their rice on the side. I like to put it, not too much, but I like to put a little bit right here in my soup to mix around while I'm eating. So here you have it. My caldo de albondigas. So this is what it looks like. It's perfect for a cold day, even though it's not cold in Houston right now, but this is it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to share it and comment. Let me know what you think. Bye, you guys.